Hey everyone, it's Mike over here at Steel Green Manufacturing, and today we're going to talk about how to properly calibrate your speedometer and run through some troubleshooting as well. Real quick, what we're going to talk about here is the speedometer, calibrating it or setting it, and some common troubleshooting issues that we made in the field. So on the speedometer here, as soon as you turn your key to the first position, you should be seeing your battery voltage. So that tells you you've got a good power wire. It'll sit here and stay on for a certain period of time until the timer runs out, and it won't do anything unless it senses wheel motion. If it senses wheel motion, then it will stay on and it'll run off the internal battery, which is, it won't sense any wheel motion, of course, because we're not running the machine. So, but as long as I'm messing with the buttons here, it'll stay alive for us so I can run you through the setup of this speedometer. So on the machine, to get the speedometer into setup mode, you have to hold all three buttons down for a few seconds until everything lights up like that, and you let go and you're on the first screen, which is the units, and it's mile an hour or kilometers an hour. And you have to keep moving or changing things, because if you let it sit too long, it'll time out and go back to the main screen and you have to jump back into setup mode. So that's why I'm cycling back and forth. So we'll make sure it's on MH, hit the center button to go to the next screen, which this is going to be the most important one, the tire size. So the tire size, as you can see, is 1755 for our big tire on the 52 and 46, and then it will be 1705 on the smaller machines. And I just went past that, so watch, I'll show you. I accidentally went past, so we'll just go all the way back and hold the buttons again. There we go. So 1755, the left button changes the number, the right button changes what number you're on. And if you go past, you just cycle back to the first number, no big deal. So you'll get that number set. What that number is the millimeter circumference of the drive tires, the rear tires, at which it reads the speed from. So once you're set there, center button takes you to the next category, which is going to be your clock. And this is going to be 12 or 24 hour format. 12 hour format is what it should be on. If you like it on 24 hour, you can change it to 24 hour. And then center button takes you over to the actual clock setting. Here again, the left number changes your number. Right number can cycle through the digits. You can reset everything down to the seconds. The seconds you can only reset to 0. To start the minute over, you can't set the number there. Once the time is set, mode button again. This Fahrenheit unit screen we don't use. It has optional engine temperature sensors. So just hit mode again. Same for the Fahrenheit high. It's like a temperature at which you would want a warning light. The Fahrenheit danger is the other warning light. So we don't use those. The DC. So this is going to be the number at which it gives you a flashing light. If it goes below 12 volts, we want a light to flash at us. That's how we have it set from the factory. And then the other light, the DC danger, is still set at 12 volts. So when your battery voltage is below 12 volts, you're going to get both flashing lights at you. So that's what that means. The next screen is the oil change interval in hours. We don't utilize this either. Actually, not hours, sorry. It's distance. Because it is a distance meter, we don't use that. We use the hour meter on the machine's engine to track your oil change intervals. The second one is another distance meter with a wrench icon instead of like the oil icon. You could use that if you wanted to set some sort of distance reminder to do something for yourself, but we just leave it at 0. If it's at 0, that means it's not set and it's not going to go off and give you that symbol. The last screen is going to be this. It says screen, and all it is 3 and 2, and it's just 2 different versions of how the display looks. We just leave it on 3 like it is from the factory from Stryker, but you can also look in the speedometer manual, in your owner's manual, to see if you would like to change that. The next one is going to be the resolution of your odometer. You can either be 1 decimal place or 2 decimal places on your odometer. We just leave it at 2. And then now we're back to the main screen, and that's all the settings on your speedometer and what they mean and how they are from the factory. All right, so on the speedometer, underneath the dash here, the speedometer has 4 wires. We use 2 of the 4. One is a power wire and one is the speedometer sensor wire, which goes back to the right-hand drive wheel. The other 2 are for optional sensors that we don't utilize off the speedometer. It is very tempting to plug them into each other if you were to look under here, but you don't want to do that because they will plug in, but it'll make your speedometer kind of just go loopy and it just won't work right. So we'll just leave those 2 alone. And the only 2 connections for troubleshooting you would have to worry about is your power cable and your sensor cable. The power cable, if you turn the key on up top and it shows your battery voltage, you know it's good to go. The other end of the power cable will take you around the side of the machine and show you that next. All right, so the other part of the speedometer is going to be the sensor wire, which comes back here to the back right-hand wheel. I went ahead and threw a jack underneath the back, underneath the footplate area on the chassis, lifted it up, and used a 13/16 socket and pulled those 4 lug nuts off. So we'll go ahead and pull this wheel off and expose and show you the speedometer sensor, which is going to be right here on the front side of the wheel motor. There's a wire that you can follow, and then there's a double jam nut here that holds that sensor in line with the back edge of the brake drum. So if you're having an issue where your speedometer is not wanting to pick up the speed, the first thing to look at would be just the connection up top on the speedometer, which is real simple. And then there's a connection right down here, a white quick attach plug for that, which takes the sensor off of the wire only. And then lastly is going to be, and most commonly the issue is going to be the magnet. There's a magnet that is epoxied to the back very edge of this drum so that as it goes around, it gets 1 pulse per revolution, and that's how it picks up your speed and gives you the speed readout. All right, so on the speedometer, the sensor is right here, and the magnet, as we have lined up right across from the face of that sensor. You want about a credit card thickness gap between the 2 for that thing to read properly. So that'd be the one other item to check for that speedometer sensor is make sure it's lined up, and there's about a credit card thickness between the 2 of them. Well, thank you guys for watching today's video. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out on social media or check out our website at steelgreenmfg.com.